Welcome back to Two and a Half Chicks. In this episode, we take a look at where we are in the midpoint of our lives. We don't call it a midlife crisis, though. Maybe a midlife awakening, or midlife peace, or in one case, midlife fuck up my life. It's about the normal look back you take on your life to take stock of where we are, what we still want to do, what we would do different. Also, what changes would we make for our own happiness? There's value in getting another person's looking through the glass perspective of your life, and how do our needs change as we age? Tune in no matter what stage in life you're at. You may identify with us or learn that it's never too early to start reviewing where you are in life and how happy you are and what changes you can make. And make sure you stay with us to the very end to hear a bonus conversation on sex toys and Monica's adventures. It's one you don't want to miss. Welcome back to Two and a Half Chicks. It's me, Tess, and Monica and Brian.
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
Good. Today on the show, we mentioned before we're three people in our 50s, and we've been feeling a little bit introspective lately. And, we started thinking about where we are in our lives, where we've been, what we've been doing. And, you get to a certain point in your life where you start looking back on your life. You start looking back at what you did versus what you would have wanted to have done if you had to do it all over again. Where are you going? Are you happy with where you are in life and where you're going in life? And I know Brian and I have been having some conversations about this about our personal lives. And then we talked to Monica and she's like, yeah, I definitely could speak to that topic. So we thought we would talk today about, I could call it a midlife crisis, but I really think it's more like midlife reflection because I don't want to put a negative spin on it. I mean, we're not in dire straits here, but life definitely takes some reflecting on once you get to this age. So
that's a good term. But what did you call it in the car, Tess? You called it
So I called it a midlife awakening, but that really bears some explanation that I'll get to when I talk about kind of what I went through, probably.
And then I said, well, then I'm gonna have to call mine a midlife fuck my life up.
Yeah, so we all probably had some different experiences of how we've dealt with, turning 50 and looking at, or even 50, 51, 52, wherever we are, just like where we're at.
I mean, we were recently in our 40s, so it started in our 40s.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I feel like I've always felt like I finally grew up in my 40s.
Oh, yeah. God.
Like I mean,
we're not going to live to be 100 here, so.
Yeah. Like I grew up in my 40s. In my 30s, I was still kind of like, I was getting there, but I was still just in a haze.
Yeah. I grew up at 51.
Yeah.
Brian's now settling down.
Yes.
I call it, you guys call it that. I would call it my midlife. I've always used this word before, my inner peace. Like I feel like I finally
you don't sweat the small stuff, right?
I finally reached my inner peace. I'm not 100%. There are times that things bother me that shouldn't bother me, but I'm more able to control it and just be more self-aware about why I feel that way. But yeah, the small stuff doesn't bother me. People call me names, offend me. I just, okay.
As long as it's in the bedroom, right?
Yeah. I don't get offended in the bedroom either.
Good. Well, I want to hear a little bit about Tessa's midlife awakening.
Yes.
Can you speak on that?
Yeah, it's actually a couple of years ago now, so that would put me at about 49, probably. I was sitting, it was actually, COVID kind of wasn't, it was still going on. And there was a friend of ours that performs music, and she was performing at an outdoor location where people kind of set up lawn chairs, like, away from each other. And I was sitting there, and I looked around, and all the people that were there, like, it was like a kind of a friend group that I knew through a friend of a friend. And I was sitting there, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, these aren't my friends. I don't really have very many friends anymore. I work all the time, and I'm just not happy. I'm all work and no play. I'm like, my life, because I never had a party stage when I was young. I started working young. I met a man with I got married and divorced with no children. And then I met a man with 2 small children. And then I became the breadwinner of our family. And I was just like, I don't frickin' like my life. And I got up from that party and I turned to my husband and I go, I need to take a walk. And I walked away and I just started walking home. And I
How
started
far away
walking
from home
home.
were you?
A few miles, not too bad. And I texted him when I was halfway home, and I said, "I'm not coming back. Don't follow me."
Well, that's
And
cryptic and creepy.
yeah, he freaked out. He said for the first time in 20 years he was afraid
Yeah.
because he never got a text like that, and he didn't know what the fuck was going on with me. And I had to do some like real thought about where my life was and where it had been and where I wanted it to go. My son still had another year and a half of school before he graduated high school. And I was just like, my life is just too much. I just work too hard and I just don't have any fun. So that started a bit of a party stage for me. And I went out and bought an RV. That was my midlife crisis. I went out and bought an RV, but I didn't want to call it a midlife crisis. I'm like, you know what? This is going to be a midlife awakening because I'm learning that life is not all about working hard and no play.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to be more balanced in life and you have to enjoy yourself. And so I went out and bought an RV and decided to go away once a month to, just try and balance myself a little more. Because when I was at home, I always saw that I should be doing this and I should be doing this and I should be doing this. I could never really relax. But when I go out in that RV and sit outside under the stars and light a fire and play music and drink wine or whatever the fuck we do, I can totally unplug.
Now, I'm sorry, I'm giggling over here myself, and I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, you said you left that party and you walked home. You said, "Don't fucking follow me." I'm thinking, did she walk to like a gay bar or something? No, you walked to an RV bar.
No, I did not walk to an RV bar. I went home. I spent several days thinking about it. I did skip some steps there.
How did that happen?
Then I actually went to my father's house for a few weeks. I didn't even come home for a little bit, and I didn't have an end date to that trip. I needed to reflect over my life, so I ran away to my dad's for a little while. It wasn't because I wanted to leave my husband. I never wanted to leave my husband. I just needed time to think about my life. Mm-hmm. And being the breadwinner of our family, I just didn't have a lot of choices. So I just needed time. And we didn't buy the RV for the 3 months. So we did a lot of I decided I wanted to buy an RV. We did a lot of research and then we bought the RV 3 months later. But it was a lot of reflection about how I could become a more balanced human being.
Yeah, and we're not saying that there's an age limit on when you can reflect on your life, right? You can think about
it's constant.
It's constant.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're constantly trying to grow. And hopefully,
It's a journey.
If there are any listeners that are under the age of 45 on this podcast, they'll take a little heed to our messages, right? And say it's okay to think about your life earlier, because if we would have done that earlier, maybe some things would have changed.
Well, you don't want to not do things that you'll regret not doing, right? You want to make sure that you don't get to 50 and say, "Oh my God, I wish I would have done this, this, and this," right?
Right. So Tessa and I were in the car like today, just talking about it, and that's what brought up this whole conversation. She said we should talk about like a midlife crisis situation. I was like, wouldn't it be weird if you could just flash, like do one of those Freaky Friday things where you just you know who you are and you pop back into like an 8-year-old's body, like the things that you would do differently, right?
Yeah.
So reflect all you want. Try to make good decisions.
I think I'd become the biggest whore in school if I knew what I knew now, and I was only 8.
I think I would too.
You became a whore at 8. My God, Tess, come on.
No, I wouldn't even have the ability at 8. You know what I mean? I just meant that I would be an early bloomer, I'm sure.
Yes. You'd be Monica.
I would.
Oh, right.
I would still be the same way. It's just I wouldn't feel ashamed for what I was doing like I did for so many years.
Yeah.
So, Monica, let's hear about you. Did you feel like you had a midlife awakening or crisis or whatever you'd like?
I've had multiple epiphanies throughout my 40s and now that I'm 50. It's been gradual. And, it's funny because for me, my life, I feel like it's in kind of like 3 stages. My first stage was my youth, and then having my daughter when I was very young, and then graduating from college. And then that's when I met my soon-to-be husband. And then I moved to California. And that's like the next phase of my life. And I feel like the final phase of my life is when I finally separated from him, which was very, very traumatic for me. And it's been gradual. It's been a very slow process for me in figuring out like what I have or haven't accomplished, my regrets, learning to accept my regrets, learning to accept my mistakes, just growing. And as I said before, just eventually just finding inner peace. So it's been like a bunch of epiphanies for me throughout all the years that I got separated. And I still have some. sometimes, and I'm 50 and I'm like, oh, I guess I was doing this because of that reason.
You're going to have them when you're 90.
Yeah, I don't think I'm done, but I'm much better than I was when I first separated. I was 38 and I was a mess. I was a mess. And I don't think I'm a mess now. And finally, like I'm so much more confident than I've ever been in my life. I don't care that I'm older, or 50. Whatever I can still do, I'm going to do it. And you guys know I'm getting my master's, and when I'm studying, I find that it's a lot harder for me to study than when I was 20, where I would just read a book it just like imprinted itself in my brain. Now it's like I have to read it over and over to capture what, they're trying to teach me, but I'm still doing it. And I'm very happy about that. So I'm not like as nimble and quick as I was when I was young, but I guess I still have it.
That's what the milkman said.
With the milkman, we were like teenagers, so I still have it.
I think what's important is to realize no matter what stage of life you're in, that when you're unhappy, you always have the power to change something in your life. And someone once told me that our emotions are signs along our spiritual path. So if you're not feeling good, it means that there's something that needs to change. Now, some things are out of our control. We can't always change everything in our lives. Like, sometimes, like for me, I put my income and, the money I bring in for my family above, what I would want to be doing, but the bottom line is there are some things you can control and there's some things you can't. So
right.
Whatever you can.
And sometimes it helps to figure out if you are unhappy, because there are times when you're really unhappy because, like you said, Tess, your path, you need to change your path. But sometimes maybe you're unhappy for another reason. So try to understand why you're unhappy, and then you can figure out what you need to do to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my friend T, and she said, like, in her marriage and stuff, she talked about, like, before she got divorced, she wished that she had the wherewithal to, like, be more mature about the marriage and maybe try a little more counseling and stuff like that. Try not to, jump into rash decisions like a midlife like crisis or would actually cause, right? Maybe the marriage isn't the problem. Maybe the relationship, and maybe, you're just going through something. So, just be a little more aware of yourself and, yes, you obviously have, you're the breadwinner. You need to, ensure your family has food on the table. So I understand that, right? It's going to take precedence, right? You still have to live,
right?
But maybe there's some other tweaks and turns that we can do to find happiness, right? So
absolutely. And that's the thing. When we don't realize that we're in control of our lives, we tend to want to blame all these other circumstances or people, and then we give away that control. We give away that power, right? When you're busy blaming everything else, you don't realize that you actually do hold the power to make positive change.
And a lot of us get, like they say, like you get paralyzed by analyzing, right? Just think about it. Give it, like carry that item around, that shirt you want to buy at the store, carry it around with you. Do all your shopping with that shirt in your hand. At the end of the day, at the end of the shopping trip, if you look at that shirt and you say, oh yeah, I still want it, then go buy it.
Right.
If not, put it back on the rack.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do too, right? It's like
I constantly return items.
Yeah, it's a want or a need, right?
So Brian, tell us what you meant by your midlife fuck up.
So, I mean, my whole life was, I was. Oh my God, I don't even know how to say this. I was with my wife. My ex-wife. We dated for a long time. We got married, and like I talked about this in the past, but I had a house, a beautiful house, a beautiful backyard, everything you can want. I got a new motorcycle. I got everything. I had everything going for me, and I just realized I wasn't happy. No, all that stuff. They always say money doesn't buy you happiness. It just allows you to be miserable in a nicer place. So that's kind of what I was going through. And in what I meant by my midlife fuck up, I could basically retire, at 59 if I was still with this person. We had financial stability, we had everything, and I could have lived a good retirement age, but I was not happy. So I remember, I'll never forget the day I told my mom I was getting divorced. She said, "You're a fucking asshole." I was like, oh my God,
jeez.
thanks, Ma. You know, I say it was a midlife fuck up because in the grand scheme of things, like, you know, you want to prepare for your retirement. I had she wasn't a bad person. I had a companion. At some point, you know, the person you're with is going to just be your companion. It's not going to be this sexual, you know, person that you started off at. And that would have been great. And I lost my home. I lost my motorcycle, and I didn't lose it. I sold it, but I got rid of a lot of stuff. And then I wound up getting into a bad relationship with the first person that I came across. And then even after that, I wound up in a bad relationship with the second. So for the last 6 years of my life, it was, you know, from my perfect, you know, I do the air quote marriage that I had friends and family and everybody on, you know, on the team. It just turned into a shit show of ups and downs, and like call them shooting.
Seeking that happiness.
Yes,
Seeking
looking
that,
for
yeah.
it. Just, you know, and
Searching.
like, you know, idealizing everything like you guys told me, right? I was idealizing the life, and I was watching too many romantic movies. You know, I guess I was hoping for that happy ending. And the only place I would get those is at the massage parlor. So, and then I wound up, you know, having to move. Like my dad passed away last year, and I found out I was losing my job, or I had to move to keep it. So I had to lose my family, my friends, my dad was gone, my girlfriend had left me. Like, I had to go through a huge change that really wasn't something that I chose in the grand scheme of things. This was all kind of planned out for me by a greater power in my mind. I think, you know, you sit there, and I am a God believer, but I say, you know, sometimes when you pray to God, and like Garth Brooks says, some of God's greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. So, like, I sat there and think, what the hell am I going to do? I don't want to move. This is horrible. Well, I wind up moving. I still have a job, like a great job. I'm not happy there all the time because of the situation with this new ERP system we're doing and everything. But like, I have a great paying job. I found an amazing woman that, like, you know, has my back. So yeah, I'm not saying that the journey's over and I might not go through another 3/4 life crisis. I don't know. Life is kind of strange. But right now I feel like I'm finally at 52 years old on a path that seems like there might be like a pinhole of light at the end of the tunnel. So that's kind of where I'm at this point.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, Brian, what do you want to be at that end of the tunnel?
I want to be in a pair of Daisy Duke shorts with cowboy boots on, with a little pink pail in my hand, walking down a beach somewhere looking for sea glass.
You want to be in the Daisy Duke shorts?
Daisy Dukes. Yep. I'm put on some Daisy Dukes. I don't care.
Okay.
I just want to retire. I am that person right now who says, I will give away the next 13 years of my life to get to retirement age, like, comfortably.
Seriously?
And have your person
And have my person with me and just enjoy it the rest of it without stress, without dealing with bosses and, you know, doing reviews and, you know, the different personalities that come with working. And, you know, I'm not smart enough to have my own business, you know, and my artwork's not good enough.
Wait a minute. You would be 65 tomorrow if you didn't have to work and you could be comfortably retired?
Oh, yeah. I think 65,
Okay.
you still got to run. You could make a good run, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's shocking.
I
That's
know,
a shocking
right?
revelation. I wouldn't give that time up. Even if I have to work, I wouldn't give that time up.
I know time is precious, and I'm just saying, it's just I've done a lot with my life. I've been all over the world. I've eaten in great places. I've done so many wonderful things, and now I don't want to deal with other people. I just want my person, and I just want to, like I said, I want to go wherever I want to go, whenever I want. If we want to travel, fine. If we want, but I want freedom. At that point, I want that freedom. Yes. I don't have to worry about I might lose my job tomorrow because the economy and big business is, you know, laying off people like Facebook and, you know, 13% of this and Amazon, 17% of that workforce. And I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to worry about it. I just want to get to that point.
That makes sense. I understand it then.
That's your light. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay.
Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
So what about mistakes? I've made a few. What about you, Tim?
Oh, I've made it plenty.
All right, Monica, let's hear your plenty. Let's hear a couple of your plenties that you would change to get, you know, may have redirected your midlife epiphany.
I would have gone to school earlier. I actually really wanted to be a doctor, like just a general practitioner, not a surgeon.
Oh, I thought you
so
said
I don't
general
think
proctologist.
Oh, no, no. a general practitioner. I like taking care of people. So I actually would have liked to have become a doctor. So I wish I had had enough confidence in myself to do that. I wouldn't change anything about my kids. I love my kids so much. They actually made me a better person. And even though I had a lot of pain in having them, and I experienced a lot of emotional pain, not because of them, but because of the people I was with, I would still go through it for them.
Wow, that says a lot, Monica.
I love them too much. I can't see they made me who I am in the end. Mm-hmm. So the one thing I would have done though is the biggest regret I have is I should have gotten out of my marriage sooner. Yeah. Because so let me ask you a lot of emotional pain to my daughter.
Right. So for Monica, like being in that situation for the listeners out there, right, who may or may not be going through a struggle right now, right? We talk about like, you wouldn't have stayed for the kids at this point. You have to stay for yourself to make you better for the kids in the long run, right? You don't stay in a marriage for the kids, yes. Right?
No, because all of that negativity that's in between the couple the kids learn it. You don't think they do, but they learn it when you fight. The way you talk to each other, they learn it. And then that's how they become when they're older. And they won't understand why they behave this way. It's because that's what they learned.
Yeah.
You do not stay in the negative marriage for kids. I mean, you can't tell anybody to get out of any marriage. I've said this before.
Yeah, you did.
People have to get out of a marriage when they're ready to get out of a marriage and when it's safe for them to get out of the marriage. But to say I'm staying in this marriage and like suffering through this marriage for my kids, you're not helping the kids.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not helping them at all. My boys love their father. They see him once a week. But if I were to say, oh, I'm going back with your father, he's going to move in, they would both revolt and say, no. Right. We don't want that. We don't want that anymore. No, we have peace here because our house is very peaceful. It's actually very boring.
Well, except for that fucking dog.
Oh, God. He's a maniac.
Oh, shit. How about you, Tess? What would you do different? Or
I know exactly what I would do different. Most of my life, my actions have been governed by what other people need from me. And I wish it started when I was young because my parents moved us across the country when I was in the middle of high school. And I blame a lot on that. I don't say that I'm not responsible for the choices that I made, but that kind of catapulted me into a place of I wasn't very settled and I wanted to leave California. They moved us from the East Coast, New England to California. And I wanted to leave California. I wasn't happy with the move. And then when I turned 18, I tried to leave and I got a lot of pushback from my mom and I put her feelings above my own. I wanted to go away to school and I didn't do that. I was very unsettled about what I wanted to do with my life. And I ended up falling into a career instead of choosing what would make me happy. And it's just been a really bad pattern I've had my whole life of, doing what other people need from me rather than really taking the time. And I wish when I graduated high school, I would have really taken some time for me to figure out what I really wanted. I got married at 21, was way too young. And I just didn't take any time for myself. And I met my first husband at 18. So I didn't take any time for myself to figure out what I wanted out of life. So my life has been a series of reactions instead of proactive.
So would you tell your kid right now, he meets his girlfriend in college and wants to get married right outside of college, what advice would you give him?
I would say exactly what I just said is, just make sure that you know who you are and what you want before you start becoming responsible for another person, and make sure you know you before you become an us. And if he decided to do it, I wouldn't stop him because my parents couldn't stop me. Right. You can't stop somebody. Mm-hmm. But I would absolutely impart my wisdom of what I've learned at this point in my life, because it was just one series of pattern behavior after another for me my whole life. And I think that's also what led me to walk away that one day is I'm like, I need to find something for me. I need to find a way for me to stop thinking about other people all the time. It was just a really bad habit I got into. And, caretaking for my parents and my mom got sick and, my dad's getting older and, just my family, my husband's kids, my kid, my husband, those were always been my considerations above myself. Right. So I think that's what I would do different. I would have taken that time for myself to figure out what I want rather than just reacting to life.
Fair.
I've always said that. I believe that everybody needs to have a time in their life where they're just alone. I mean, single. So they can figure themselves out. Because, there are a lot of people who are in a relationship from one to the next to the next. And it's always good to just be on your own. Figure yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tess, we just had this conversation in the car, Monica, today. Like, my sister brought out a really great point to me. She says, Brian, a lot of the times when I speak to you, your happiness is predicated on the person you're with. It's not your happiness. You need somebody else in your life to help you create that happiness. And I was like, son of a bitch.
And how happy you are with them is how happy you are, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I never even thought that. That's like horrible.
Isn't it crazy when someone tells something to you about you and you're like,
yeah,
I didn't really think about that about myself.
I mean, I'm old enough to have thought about that and know better. And it took my sister, to just pop it out of her mouth and and blah, blah. It just, came out just real quick. And I was just like, son of a bitch.
Sometimes a view is clearer looking through the glass, like you always say.
Yeah,
this is what I see looking through the glass,
Looking
right?
through the glass. Yeah, every once in a while I forget that I should put a mirror in front of that glass, right?
All of us should. But that's super helpful for me when you tell me about what you observe in my life, instead of just looking through the glass, this is what I see. And sometimes we have to hear stuff that we don't really like to hear.
Yeah, and when she told me that, I was so upset. But not at her, at myself, or like, why would me here? I'm this guy who talks about, I was with this one, I was with that, blah, 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 blah. And then I realized, shit, I was doing that because I need to be in a relationship. I've never been single. I've never been single. And Monica used to say it to me too when we used to work together.
I've said it to you all the time.
You need some time alone. And what the fuck did I do? I came to Reno and dated everybody in town.
Well, you were single. You were just single and keeping yourself very occupied.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like being alone. I can't stand it. I can't stand being alone.
Somebody to share life with.
Yeah, I go back to that saying, right? I'm like, when you see a sunset with somebody, it's beautiful. But by yourself, it's beautiful. But when you see it with someone else, it's magnificent. When you have somebody else that's sharing that moment with you, So
I get that.
I just fall into it. Like, being alone for me, it's like, when I go to the bathroom, that's my alone time. Outside that, I want somebody there. I need that person there.
We were talking about it today, too, about what it's like to have a companion. And it's like I'll see a movie and then I'm like, oh, I want to share this with my husband. Or, you'll want to share it with the people that you love because it's like it's fine by yourself, but it has more meaning for you when you share it. I get it.
Yep. I get it, Brian, because I've been alone for a long time, like single, where I just go see a movie by myself. And it does suck not being able to talk to your person and to tell them what's going on. It does suck.
I noticed that when people are single for a long time, they don't need anybody else. It's hard to be with somebody else when you're single for like my sister, the same one that said that's been single for a long time now, and she says, she makes comment, yeah, I would love to have somebody, but she doesn't make any efforts to find anybody. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And she's just like to the point where she's financially stable and she could retire tomorrow and be completely do whatever she wants.
What do you think it is, Brian? Do you think that the barrier just becomes not barrier, but the what you're looking at, you're just looking for, it becomes too high, like the expectation becomes too high, or because we're set in our ways?
I think we're set in our ways. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like, you don't want to share your stuff after a certain period of time. Like, I don't mean like
you're not willing to deal with negative stuff or the bullshit.
You don't want. You know what your comfort zone is. Like, I can come home, I can sit on the couch, I can watch Netflix, I can get the dishes in the sink tomorrow morning. And nobody's ever going to say anything. It's your world. And then
set the bar. I was trying to say, set the bar.
Yeah, you set the bar. Yeah, and after a certain period of time, you don't want anybody coming in and disrupting your world. I think it would be good for her. It would be amazing for her, because I think, knowing what I know now, having your world disrupted every once in a while is a really good thing. I had to move to Reno on my own with no family, with no friends. Okay? And I thought it was horrible, and I struggled and struggled. And, do I love it there? No. But am I living a life there? Yes. And I needed that world to get away from the world I was in. And sometimes that's a good thing. You know, I spoke to somebody one time, my friend, her husband said to me, I made a promise to myself years ago that every 10 years I would find a new place to live. And he's been true to that. And he's got like 2 more years on his living area out in, you know, Southern California. And he's like, I have to make a decision. And I'm married now. And, you know, I know that my friend would be willing to move back to the East Coast. But he said, I don't want to live here in 2 years. I want to try something new. And I thought, how brave that is, right? To say to yourself, I can upheave my life and go someplace else and try something new. Because we're not here. We're not here for a long time, right? You know, in the grand scheme of things, our hourglass is draining sand left and right. You know, it's dropping more sand than the milkman's popping on Monica's back. So you got to take advantage of these little things. You got to listen to people when they talk sometimes because they got some real jewels.
Yeah.
But keep your ears open is what I'm trying to say. Listen for the gold nuggets, right? Listen to those things that maybe make you think about your life. Because when my sister told me that, and I mean, that was only, you know, a week ago, making me think about my life already, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, things I would have done different, I would have gone to college. Because now I have to live with the fact that trying to find a job in my world without a college degree is so ridiculously difficult. I've been in the same business for 28 years at this, you know, same company. I have 28 years experience, but if you don't have that piece of paper, you got to kind of start in the middle now. Like, you know, not starting out as a manager now. I'm starting out as a supervisor possibly, you know. I'm too old for that. There's the other side of me that says, well, you know, I don't want the responsibility anymore. I'm tired of dealing with all these people and personalities. You got to have a friggin' nowadays, especially, I'm sorry, living on the West Coast, you got to have a psychology degree to be a manager, having to deal with these personalities out here. It's not easy. So, yeah, it's something a little bit easier. But it would have been nice to go to college, have that piece of paper. And like my niece, for instance, sorry, I know I'm rambling here, but she chose a field that she loves. She's 30 years old. She's living her best life. She's making tons of money. And she goes to work every day and she says to me, I don't feel like I work. I love my job that much.
That's
how many
awesome.
people have that freedom? 5% of the planet?
I don't know.
If it's even that high.
Right. I don't know.
So,
But that's got to be a wonderful feeling.
yeah, I would have definitely. That's my biggest regret, and I got a lot of them, but that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
One of my regrets was that for the longest time when I was younger, I constantly let myself feel down because of the fact that I didn't achieve the things that other people in my age group had achieved. Like if they had a nice car, or if they had a big house that was like a mansion, or obviously if they had a perfect marriage, which I didn't end up having, or their kids, you know, went to like a great school and my kids are struggling in school, which they did. You know, both my boys had ADHD, you know. So like for the longest time, I think that's one of the things I kept doing. Like I kept feeling down because I felt like I wasn't achieving what I was supposed to achieve. And that was one of my epiphanies, you know, that I had in my, I'd say late 40s. It's like, why do I need to compare myself to somebody else? So what if they have the nice car? So what if I'm happy they have a nice marriage. I don't, that's fine. I don't need to have a big house. I don't need to have a mansion. I just need to have what's right for me. And actually, I want to have a smaller house now because I don't want to clean it.
That's what I was going to say, Monica, is the older you get, the less stuff you feel you need.
Yeah, I don't want to walk up steps.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't want to cut the grass anymore. I don't care about having a nice, luscious yard anymore.
Yeah.
But I think we all do that, Monica. I think everybody grows up like I know I have friends that still to this day do that. And some of them have a lot of stuff, you know, and they still compare. I think it's just the way we are.
Well, I've stopped doing that. I've conscientiously stopped doing that. I don't want to do that anymore because I don't feel good. I feel, you know, it doesn't help my confidence or my, you know, my happiness, internal happiness.
Yeah, I just talked to Tess about this today, right? I mean, I've been going through a bout of depression, and it's basically probably, like I said, she said, is it chemical, or do you feel is it chemical, or is it like
Circumstantial.
Circumstantial, right, Tess? And I was like, I think it's more circumstantial. I've never really felt this way before, like, but yeah, where I'm at, it's a little depressing when I, you know, like not being able to have my family around me when my dad past, and moving out of a different state. So yeah, I think I'm going through a little bit, but like, it's comparing stuff. Like I said to her today, right? I said, I'm 52 and I'm not where I'm at. I'm not rooted. I'm not settled. I mean, I thought my world was going to be completely different than what it is now. I'm living in an apartment. I'm moving out. I'm moving in with my girl. You know what I mean? We're going to, but we're not buying a house together. We're getting an apartment together. So at some point, I'm going to have to move out of there. Yeah, I just don't feel rooted. I need to feel rooted. I won't feel comfortable. Like when I was married, I felt rooted. Okay. And I was like, but I wasn't happy with the situation. But now I feel like I know what I want. I got a great person. Now I want to be rooted. I just don't want to be rooted in Reno.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough. We all go through this, and I mean, who knows? It may never end. I may be renting for the rest of my life. I don't know. But you do the best you can with what you got.
That's right.
It's a process.
It is a process. Absolutely. I think depression, I don't think it's so abnormal when you get to that point where you're reflecting on your life and you're not necessarily happy with what's going on all the time. I know for me, it's also, I don't know if it's that or if it's hormonal, but I go through moments of extreme melancholy where I just don't, I'm just sad and I don't know why,
Me
I have that too.
Me too.
Yeah. So
I don't want to get out of bed.
Age thing. Yeah. Could be an age thing. It could be circumstantial. It could be chemical.
Yeah, I said that because I don't know if my testosterone levels are dropping. I'm more emotional now which I'm always emotional, first of all. I've been never going to change, but I feel like it gets worse, and even my girl tells me, like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm just sad. I'm like, I mean, this is real. I'm never everybody says, oh, I'm so depressed. But until you are depressed, you don't realize how real this is. It takes a toll on you. My body aches. My neck hurts all the time. Like you said, Monica, I don't want to get out of bed. I think about my dad, and I'm like, this guy was depressed his whole life. He was clinically depressed his whole life, but he still got out of bed, and he still took care of, he raised, put money and food on it for 6 kids. You know what I mean? Like, I can't let him down. My whole process is like, I can't let my dad down. Yes, I'm depressed. I will work through it, and maybe I need to speak to somebody with more letters at the end of their name than mine, right? But at this point, trying to figure out your way, it's not easy. And I thank God I have you guys, because I talk to you about all this stuff. And this podcast is great because I vent out a lot of my stuff on this podcast.
But Brian, we're also old enough to have the wisdom to pull ourselves out of it. Younger people, I think, that are, maybe it's not an age thing, maybe it's a personality thing. I don't know. I think it's an age thing. Younger people sometimes don't know how to handle those feelings. And I feel like we can recognize it when it's happening and know that it's happening and know that it's not normal. And I feel like we can do work on ourselves to battle it, whether it's getting help or whether it's taking medication or whether it's, if it's a hormonal imbalance. I feel like we have the wisdom to say, this isn't the way I'm going to live the rest of my life out. I'm either going to make a change in my life to see if it's circumstantial, or I'm going to get help, or I just feel like we have more wisdom to deal with it at our age.
Yeah, but if it's chemical though, how would you know, right? Like I said, I'm not used to this, right? This is not a normal feeling. Yes, I get that, but if it's
process of elimination, if circumstantial changes don't work, then you have to look into, you talk to a doctor, you get some tests done, That's the only thing we can do is a process of elimination.
I know the older people tend to call the younger folks, the younger generations crybabies and this and that. But we were kind of crybabies too when we were young.
Maybe
in the 90s, 80s.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying we weren't.
Yeah, okay, Brian.
I think we have maturity and wisdom
we got
now.
hit with belts.
Exactly. And I think we weren't helped in those years when we needed it the most. We just kind of just grew older with it, dealt with it. But we still had those mental issues. I mean, Brian, you tell me those stories about all those kids that, this is very sad, that committed suicide in your town all the time.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Jumping in front of trains.
Yeah, so it existed back then. It's just, it wasn't acknowledged. And I think, we can call the kids nowadays crybabies and wusses, whatever, but at least they're more aware that it's a real thing and that they can get help for it. And they don't make fun of people anymore. I mean, how many times when we were younger did we call people crazy, when
Yeah.
people acted weird, which looking back now is very mean that we were doing that.
Yeah. Well, like when you're young, you say a lot of stupid things and mean things you don't really.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know.
We were ignorant.
I think we have more wisdom now to deal with this than people that are young. That's all. I'm not saying that we weren't crybabies when we were young. I think we were, but I'm saying as you get older, you just have more wisdom to deal with problems than you do when you're younger. When you're younger, you have less coping ability.
And like you said, Tess, you have more wisdom to know if it's just
More
circumstantial, like what Brian was saying, or if there's something
Question
else
it.
that's not just the circumstances. Maybe it is chemical.
There's more maturity for tackling.
Yeah, and
it,
I have to say this, if you're listening and you do feel that way, or if you have somebody in your life that seems like they don't understand, if they're acting out of character, bring it up to them. It's some people want to be asked about their problems, right? Find out if they're okay, because it's not easy living like this. It sucks. It just really sucks. I feel bad that people I'm not. I feel bad for people that live with this every day. I mean, I've been living this for the last year, but I mean, for someone that's been suffering with this 4 years, I mean, that's sad. It's sad.
Support is really important. So I think, part of what we are, covering today is that it's a normal thing to reflect on your life, and that it's not about, you don't have to wait till you're in your 50s to do it, or 40s. I mean, it's something you can always do. And, you have the control to make changes and to, be aware so that you can make changes so that you don't have regret later.
Agreed. So who's got some closing thoughts?
Like Tess said, you are never too young or too old to make changes in your life that are good for you. Yes, you may regret, you may reach 50 and regret your decisions, but they're part of your journey and hopefully they make you a better person. I always remember, did you guys ever watch a movie called Hope Floats with Sandra Bullock and Harry Connick Jr.?
It's depressing. Yes.
I know it's very depressing, but I always remember the line that she says at the very end. Childhood is the thing that you spend the rest of your life getting over.
Yes.
So, it's okay if you're not okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
I don't even think it's. I don't think it's just childhood. I mean, we go through things our entire lives that make us have to constantly get over.
It's just compounded, though. It gets compounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, relationships, and there's so many things that loss of friendships, loss of relationship. I mean, that's a good line.
But it's okay to not be okay, and you're never too old to decide to make a change that's positive for you, and you can still do it. Don't ever convince yourself. Don't convince yourself you can't.
Yep. Yeah. I was raised in a house where somebody told us, you're too dumb for college, so don't even bother. So don't do that to people. Don't belittle people's brains and growing power, and
build them up. Don't break them down.
Build your people up. I'm not saying you give them an award for showing up. Don't do that either.
Or constantly call them beautiful or smart.
Yeah, don't
reward
do that.
their effort.
Yeah, and and know your worth when you get older too. Understand yourself. Even if you didn't go to college, it's okay. You're still making it. You're still doing your thing, right? So just have some self-respect, have some, pride in your world, and appreciate the things that you have, and concentrate on those a lot more than the problems in your life. If we can forget our problems as easy as our blessings, we it'd be a lot easier to live.
You can't feel gratitude and sadness at the same time. So I think when we're feeling negative, it's best to reach for a positive. If you can. It's hard to do sometimes when you're negative. True. Very hard.
It is.
All right, guys.
So, guys, I have to tell you guys, at the end of season 2, I announced that I lost my favorite toy. And I just want to say that I found it.
Oh, where was it?
In her girlfriend.
It was not. I think I had said that last I saw it, it was on my bed. And I looked behind my bed and under the bed, like where it could have fallen. And it wasn't there. And one day I was in my bedroom and I was by the bed doing something, and I kicked something after taking a trip. I store under the bed, I store like duffel bags and stuff for trips. And I had taken a trip, So here's the thing. It ended up under the bed. I ended up kicking it, and I was like, what the hell? When I saw it, when I went under the bed to see what I kicked, and I saw it, my dog has decided to make a little doggy cave under my bed. Mm-hmm. So when the womanizer fell off the back of the bed from my dog laying under the bed, it got pushed more to the foot of the bed. And then when I took the duffel bags out for a trip, it pulled it closer to the edge of the bed. So anyway, it was gone for months, but I found it. I found the damn
That's
toy.
good.
The fact that she needs a duffel bag sized piece of luggage to carry the womanizer should tell you how big it is.
The womanizer isn't about size, it's about suction.
and Dee and I were talking earlier, and he brought up a good point. If a vibrator runs out of its batteries, it's still a useful vibrator, right? It's not like an escalator, like an escalator, right? When it stops working, it's still a set of stairs. Is that right?
Depends on the vibrator.
Oh,
yeah, it depends on the vibrator. When
if
mine
it's
loses
a dildo,
charge,
then yes.
When mine loses charge, it's no good.
He's saying it's still a penis-shaped toy.
Oh, mine is not a penis.
Yeah,
my vibrator is not a penis-shaped toy.
What the hell?
It depends on.
It's shaped like a big teardrop.
Oh, teardrop.
Yeah,
because it makes you weep because it feels so good.
Yeah, and it has this little section for where you to put your fingers, so that you hold it with your fingers, so that you're not holding it like this or like that. You're just got like this.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a Vivo, but I don't know which Vivo it is. Vivo is a big brand. It has all kinds of types of vibrators, but you hold it with your fingers and you hold it close to your clit, and and it just prevents you from having to do like crazy things with your hands. Stuff. You're able to just hold it like with your fingers.
It prevents really carpal tunnel.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's a piece of good news. I was excited to share.
Good, Tess.
Yep. And then Monica, I was curious if you're still seeing The Milkman.
I am.
All right.
I am.
Nice.
We're still not serious. We're not. It's temporary. I don't know how temporary or how long temporary is.
Did you add any other vendors like an ice cream man or?
No. He knows that I am still on the dating apps because I do want to find my person, as I call him, my life mate. But he knows. I talk to him about everything. I tell him everything. He knows everything.
Did he listen to our podcast?
I don't know. He hasn't told me, but he knows about it.
Okay.
All right.
But I just haven't had any luck. It's just been bad luck after bad luck. Oh, and I was on OkCupid. I completely deleted my account on OkCupid because I was swiping, and all of a sudden I got my ex as a potential match. And I freaked out. No,
Your ex-husband?
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
ex-husband.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Oh, I thought
he must have seen you too, no?
I don't know. I don't know because he comes to see my boys and he talk. We talk. We're not friends or anything, but we're friendly because I've told him I don't want to be fighting in front of the boys.
Wow, I got to know, what did that feel like?
I freaked out. I was like, oh! So then I swiped left and I deleted my account immediately because I do not want him seeing my account. So I went back to Bumble and it's not been going that great, but I'll keep looking.
Hey, at least.
But I have the milkman.
Keeps delivering.
That's right.
He does. He keeps delivering.
Right. You don't worry.
We have a lot of fun. That's the thing about him and I. We have a lot of fun. We're getting very comfortable. Off. Yeah, we're very. Yes, it does.
That's great.
It does.
Because you work hard and you're going to school, so to be able to have some fun is huge.
Let me ask you this: do you find that being in this kind of relationship where there's like no strings attached in the grand scheme of things, you're more open sexually with him?
Yes.
Because you don't.
Really?
Yes, I can tell him anything.
Yeah.
I can tell him anything, and I'm not afraid that he's not going to like me. I'm not afraid that he's going to stop liking me.
That's huge, Monica.
Right? Yeah, because I don't, not that I do care if he likes me, obviously, but
he obviously likes you.
I don't think he's going to fall in love. I know he's not going to fall in love with me. So because of that, it's like, I don't have that hanging over the relationship. So I tell him anything. I can tell him anything. He can tell me anything. I have nothing to lose.
Are you telling him anything during the throes of passion? You tell me like rock that.
Yes.
Yeah, look at you
Yeah,
go, girl.
we are. He says, like, you naughty girl.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Two
Wait, are you
words
trying
I
stuff out you've
never
heard on the
thought of.
podcast?
No, he's the one he's actually pretty, he's pretty open-minded in terms of,
Well, that's cool. Brian, what were
sexuality.
you trying to
So
say?
he'll
I'm
say
sorry.
some stuff. He said some stuff. So I'll give a little bit of a hint. Like, he does sometimes he'll say something and I'm like, and he says, well, he'll ask me a question. I don't want to give too much details. And then I sit there like, this? Because I don't know what to say. And he goes, yeah, that's good. I'm like, okay.
Well, Monica,
I'm so lost.
I would have rather had details for that instead of this and that.
I
Give
don't know.
details.
It's too personal.
You mean
It's
he
too-
suggests
now it's
stuff and
personal.
Yeah, he says like he because during sex, the dirty talk, and he'll say something, but he'll ask me like a question, like expecting me to give a very naughty
yeah, that's
answer.
awesome.
Yeah. So then I'm like, because I don't know what to say. He'll ask me a question, and I sit there like so in the middle of the passion, of the throes of passion. He'll ask me this question, and I'm
you
sitting
go
there like,
blank.
I go blank. I'm like, this. Like, and
This
he's
is
like,
where
yeah.
no, Monica. This is where you go. What would Brian do?
Yeah.
Monica, this is if
Say
he's
whatever.
If he's asking you questions for like long division, I can understand why you. But if he's asking you like, where you like stick my cock, then you got to answer the fucking question.
Well, yeah, that's easy. But he'll ask stuff, and what will you? Something like he'll say, and what do you like to do, or what do you do? And then I'm like, that's where I get like,
You like to go
I
for
do
long
this.
walks on the beach. No, Monica, that's not what he's looking for. All right.
Yeah.
You know?
And the thing that I have to stop doing is for some reason, like I said, I have fun with him. And every time I'm like, I literally am grinning the whole time. And I think to myself, like, I'm going to look so stupid. Like,
No.
I think in that moment when he asks you what you like to do, you just got to answer him really freaking honestly. What do you want in the moment? Like, what do you desire in the moment? And then just freaking say it without without
now,
hesitation.
you guys have definitely helped because I told him like what you said, Brian, your words. I told him it was from the podcast where you said, once you close that door,
That's
whatever
right.
you say in those closed doors stays in those closed doors. And I told him that. He said, that's a good way of putting it.
That's right, Monica.
and on the podcast.
Yep. So that's what I say. Next time you're on top of him and you're grinding on him and everything, he's like, what do you like? You say, stick your finger in my ass right now. Just tell him.
Okay.
Tell him, Monica. You're going to like it. I'm telling you. You're going to like it.
Or you just tell him to talk dirty or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I prefer the dirty talk. I'm going to say, guys,
You never know till you try it.
I'm not a butt girl. I'm not.
Yeah,
into
because
anal
you
stuff.
don't know. You don't
Yes,
know.
there's a lot of nerve endings in that entry.
That's right. He doesn't have to go. Look, he doesn't have to go hard in there. Just
Or
one
far.
knuckle. Just even one knuckle. Just a tickle. You'll be like, whoa.
I've never been, so I don't know. But he does. He's very respectful. If like I don't
Or,
want to
you
do
know what?
something, he
If
won't.
that's
do
not
it.
your speed, you could say, like, hold my face or touch my hair or whatever you do. Like,
Yeah, be
Yeah.
whatever it
boring.
is.
Yeah.
Right. It's not your experience, it's hers.
Yeah, Brian.
I have to live vicariously through her now, Tess, because I have someone, and So yes, I need to.
You want
Monica,
to
have
hear
a lot
about
of-
her? Yeah.
well, when
We
we're
have a lot
living,
of fun together. We're very comfortable with each other, so it's
That's
nice.
That's a
Awesome.
wonderful thing.
It's
That's a
nice.
great thing.
It is a very nice thing.
So you have,
But-
you have a playmate. You have somebody to experiment with. That's
I
cool.
do. The only
Very
thing
cool.
I'm thinking is that, I feel bad because now it's like if I try to find a real person and I'm not looking for like the
what's
same.
blow up ball?
No. If I try to find like, no, if I
Your
try to find
romantic
my
partner.
life mate, I call him my life mate. I don't want to compare because
Monica, you're
I'm
not
having
gonna be
some,
Yeah. Every
So I have to-
person is a new experience, right? You got to throw out the
Exactly.
There's
comparison.
no
So-
comparison.
Yes.
But I have told him that once I meet somebody, because I'm not the type of person to go with two guys at the same time. I'm just
Not
not. I
yet.
just can't.
Well, that's a fantasy.
Not yet.
though,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Not yet.
no. I think I've decided I'm not. I really. He's actually with him. I've decided I really like just being one-on-one. It's just that's my thing.
Oh, I'm
So-
teasing. I like one-on-one.
Yeah.
Too.
I'm going to stay silent during this moment.
Yeah, right. Well, like I said, if my girlfriend, which I know would never happen, if she said to me, I was thinking about it, let's bring in a nice, companion, I don't know what I would say.
Well, I think you equated that group sex thing to like the partying times in your 20s, not really
that's right.
a relationship-y thing.
It's not what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more into the one-on-one tantric feeling, like the 52-year-old penis is completely different from the 20-year-old penis, right? It's more tantric. We talked about this before.
Yeah.
But I enjoy that now. I have to say, it's like when like you said, Mike, like there's that sex where you don't really have that emotional connection in the grand scheme of things, so it's just crazy wild sex. And then there's the emotional sex where it's like it takes longer and it's more passionate and everything in the sense. So I enjoy that side of it better. I wouldn't have answered that way 20 years ago.
I mean, it's the one thing. The crazy thing is with him, it's like we laugh sometimes when we think about it. Like we're like teenagers. We sometimes
you're making up for lost time.
Yeah, we're making up for lost time, and he's loving it. He's not minding. It's like okay.
I imagine he isn't. Yeah,
getting some Latina snatch.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess.
Good for you, Monica. Yay!
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Monica.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. As always, special thanks to our producer D for all he does for our show. Where are you in your life? How did you respond to your midlife reflection? Or how are you living life now if you haven't reached midlife yet and don't want regrets? Let us know. Email us at 2.5chickspod@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram at 2.5chicks to keep up with new shows getting released. Check back soon. More of Season 3 is coming your way. Take care.